Good morning, welcome to the garden. Cheers. I am out here with my iced coffee. I just turned on the sprinkler system to get some watering done because we have a very hot, humid Virginia summer day here. And as I'm drinking coffee and watering, I wanted to actually just chat a little bit about enjoying your garden space. You know, you build the garden, you do all the hard work, and then what? It's really easy to kind of get into a little bit of a rut where it's like you're running out, you're always pruning, pulling weeds, even harvesting sometimes can be a little bit of a chore. And especially if you have a very busy life. I know, like I mean, I have two kids, one's 3, one's 9 months. It's a little bit busy, it's a little bit crazy. And there's a few things that I started doing over the years to make sure I enjoy the garden space and make sure I'm really soaking up all of the hard work and the benefits of that hard work, I should say. So I thought I would just chat about that and also look at some of the new blooms because we have a bunch of things flowering. So I am going to take a couple more sips of my coffee, turn around and do a little bit of watering of some of these containers, and we can chat about enjoying your garden space and some things you can do to help make sure that you're taking advantage of it. So I will put this down for a second. One of the things that has really helped me to make sure I'm spending time out here just actually enjoying the garden is bringing a coffee or a cocktail or a glass of wine, depending on what time of day it is. Bringing something like that out with me, because it just forces me to take at least a few minutes where I'm not doing garden chores, and I can just kind of sit and enjoy. The longer you sort of look at your garden, you'll actually start to see some of the beautiful things. You'll start to notice the things that are blooming. You'll see when, you know, something has started to ripen, and you'll actually get to just enjoy your garden space. So definitely bringing out, like, whether it's a snack or something to eat or drink, and just being out in your garden, I think is such an easy way to just take that extra little bit of time to enjoy your space. And if you have chairs in your garden, I don't really show this section that much because there's not really much to see over here, but I do have a couple chairs, and they always say that the best thing for the garden is the gardener, and lots of people recommend having chairs out in your garden. It's definitely a great thing just so you have somewhere to sit and you can sit down and really look at your garden and spend some time in the space. I have mine next to my container pond with the fish and everything, because this is another kind of area that just attracts me and makes me sit, enjoy the moment, be really present in the garden. With that, having something to drink or a little snack or something, then I have kind of like a real reason, I guess, just to sit here and enjoy the garden. And I did position my chairs in a spot where I can see basically the whole garden, so I feel like that just encourages me to kind of rest. But anywhere that you can put sort of a gathering spot really will, I don't know, it'll just, I think, invite you to take that time to really enjoy your space. And then you can sit down with your coffee and look at the garden, and that's so nice. We work so hard for these garden spaces that I just think, you know, you got to spend some time enjoying it. I do think that adding the water feature to my garden was also something that really helped me slow down a little bit. I mean, this is purely fun. I shouldn't say purely fun, because it actually does bring in pollinators and bees and birds I see drinking out of it. So it does actually serve a purpose in the ecosystem of the garden. But having the water feature, I find myself just coming out and sort of sitting here with the water and looking at it, taking a minute to peek at what's going on in the garden, and it's been really, really good, honestly. So that's something I would definitely recommend, and you'll have a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm just, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking over here because I see that there's a wasp making a nest in the corner. See, the more you sit out in the garden and look around, the more you see those tasks. But at least, you know, I gotta finish my coffee, right, before I deal with those kind of issues. Also, another thing that I think really helps with being able to enjoy the garden is finding some way to record your progress in the garden. So one of the reasons that I do Instagram and YouTube is just to track what's going on in the garden, and that helps me to yeah, just to not be so caught up in all the chores and the work, because I'm also keeping a record. I'm taking photos of the beautiful flowers or videos of them. And then along with that, I actually just recently have started painting again. I used to paint in high school. I loved painting. It was one of the things I really enjoyed doing. And I kind of got out of it because, I don't know, you know how life goes. You start these hobbies and you kind of, things happen and you drop them. But I started painting again. It's not very, I'll show you. Maybe it'll encourage you. It's not super great, but I got out some watercolors and I just tried to do a little quick painting of one of my containers. And I thought this is gonna be another great way that I can really kind of embrace the garden and enjoy it. And now I'm like looking for little vignettes and things that I wanna paint. And it's just another way to be out here that's not just harvesting and fertilizing and all of that. The garden is so fun right now, and it's just so pretty that I also do come out and just do like basically a garden walk. So if you have a bigger garden, then this is probably, I don't know, makes a little bit more sense or is a little bit easier to do. There's obviously not a whole lot of walking that I can do out here, but I consciously make an effort to come out just for enjoyment purposes. So whether it's at a different time or when I'm all done with the garden chores for the day, I will just come out and just do a little garden walk and purposely, consciously just spend some time enjoying it. And that has helped me a lot too in just relaxing in and embracing the garden, because it is really one of my happy spots and I love it. And you see all the fun things. Like, look at these queen lime zinnias that are starting to bloom. I mean, so gorgeous. I of course love to update you all on what's happening out here, and that's part of how I spend time kind of loving my garden and giving back to my garden, is by giving updates and keeping track of it growing. This is my lesser catmint starting to bloom. So pretty. There's just so much. Someone came out to join me, but I just wanted to encourage, you don't have to have a large garden to come out and do garden walks. You don't have to be on Instagram to take pictures of your garden, obviously. And any kind of art, you could press flowers, you could anything like that. Just finding ways to enjoy your garden is really sustaining, I think, for the long term of gardening. And when it does become a lot of work, because inevitably there will be a season, especially like later on in the summer. I know there's the excitement of the spring, there's all the shopping and the planning and the seeds starting and planting, and it's really fun. And then you get to, like, I don't know, July, August, things start to get weedy, it starts to get hot, it starts to be a little bit less fun to just, you know, be out there working, or you're tired. And so some of those other ways to enjoy the garden really, really, I don't know, they keep me going, I guess. I do sometimes get questions about how I stay motivated, and for me, it's just that. It's just finding all the other ways to enjoy my garden. I actually do really love a lot of the garden chores. I kind of like weeding. I love deadheading. I love pruning. That to me is so satisfying. And I don't mind watering, but I don't like fertilizing. I don't like the process of filling the watering can and watering the containers. That's not one of my favorites. So these other ways to enjoy the garden definitely sustain me through the less fun chores. And getting out here, definitely talking to you all keeps me really, really going. So, okay, I do need to water the containers before it gets too hot. And I showed you the zinnias, which are so pretty. There's so many things coming on right now, and I have a ton of green tomatoes. So the peppers are starting, and the eggplants too. I just noticed that the eggplants have really picked up on their blooms, so that is really good to see. This is late. I mean, so when I'm filming this, I always film a little bit ahead, but when I'm filming this, it is right at the beginning of July, and I feel like this is late. I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of my other harvest videos and see when I was harvesting my first peppers. It's so funny. Last year I had such a good pepper harvest, and so of course I just like thought I wanted to plant a bunch of peppers this year, and then now we've had one of the coldest summers like ever, and the peppers don't really love that, but oh well. Let me show you what's happening with the tomatoes, because this is kind of interesting. These are the spoon tomatoes. They form these little itty bitty tiny tomatoes, like itsy bitsy. And I thought my daughter would really like them. I think she will. But they are just, this plant is so happy. It is just taking off. So I have to come out here. I really need to tie. It's like an everyday process to weave these tomatoes around the trellis system because they grow so quickly. I have to stay on it. But I like just weaving them around the trellis versus actually tying them to the trellis, because it just makes my life easier at the end of the season. But look at all these green tomatoes. This is where a garden walk is so handy, because you don't necessarily see things, at least I don't. If I'm busy and trying to get all my chores just done, I'll sometimes miss some of these things, like the first tomatoes. I do need to get after. I'm worried about my clematis here. I don't know what's happening. The soil, it's not dry, but my poor little Stillwater's clematis there is kind of dying. The other one looks really happy, so I'm gonna pop some fertilizer on that one and just see. Another thing that is a fun, way to enjoy your garden is just to micromanage your seedlings. I'm sure all of us do this. Coming out and checking if anything has germinated yet. Oh, the beans are starting. Beans germinate so quickly. There they go. You can see it. This was just a couple days ago that I planted these. Wonderful. So fun. Beans are so rewarding. I like anything that germinates quickly. It's part of the reason why I love arugula. And I have my first cucamelon. So having some little garden snacks. Cucamelons are so strange. They taste like a cucumber. They're kind of seedy. They're just sort of a novelty. Fun for kids. I guess they're a good little garden snack. I don't know that I would choose to eat them if I was given a bunch of options of different things, but I don't mind them. I'm just waiting on the ground cherries here too. One of the things I do like about cucamelons though are they are really kind of scenic. Like, they're really cute. And they grow nice vines, and they kind of grow everywhere. And they trail around, and you can train them a little bit. They're fun. They've started to take off now, which is nice to see, because they're ones that like it once it gets a little bit warmer. But the phlox are now starting to bloom. I showed you this in the last video where there was just one blossom, and now the whole head of flowers is starting to fill out. Oh my gosh, I love this. Coral cream drop, my favorite phlox. Yeah, so many things are blooming. So this was the container that I painted last time, which was sort of my painting. It's very much an artist's interpretation. But I do really like this container, and the Gara is starting to flush really big now, so this is going to really flush out more. I think this container is gonna have a whole second iteration of blooms. I'm gonna turn it a little bit though, because I think the Angelonia could use a little bit more sun, so I may have to turn this a little bit more. But I really like this kind of cottage garden container. It's been really pretty. Maybe I'll paint that one next with all the sunflowers. This was the sunflowers, Rockin' Blue Suede Shoe Salvia, the Terenia, which is so pretty. I really like Terenia. I feel like this is one of those underrated sort of part shade plants. It's so pretty, and the pollinators really like it. And then my Nicotiana, I need to cut back. I need to come in and give that a little bit of a trim, because it's sort of past its prime, but the Suncredible sunflower is really taking off and filling in. So anyways, those are just some of my thoughts and ideas, and just your little reminder to make sure that even as we're getting into this kind of busy season in the garden and big harvest season, that you're still getting out there, at least with your morning coffee, or taking a few minutes just to enjoy enjoy the garden space and soak it up, soak it in. Now is the time. We wait all year for this season. And for us, I know that like early July is kind of the peak in the garden. My next video I'm gonna do about fall. We're starting to think about fall, which is so crazy, but for the fall garden, that's super important. But right now I'm trying to just soak in this summer garden, because typically like this week and next week are my peak weeks in the garden. Although I don't know, it's been such a cold year. It may be a little bit later. I have harvested one zucchini, none of my tomatoes, although I do have a lot of green tomatoes, so I'm excited to at least see that I have some green tomatoes. None of my tomatoes are even really thinking about turning red yet, and we don't have a pepper or an eggplant. Although I have one pepper up on the patio that is starting to get a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's just been a little slower year, so maybe I've got a few more weeks of this kind of like peak summer garden before we have to change anything for fall. And that's kind of nice. That's good. And there's still some stuff like the butterfly bush hasn't even bloomed yet, so there's lots and lots to look forward to. And so I'm just trying to get out here and make sure that me and the girls really soak up all of the fun summer garden-ness, because it's just so wonderful, and there's just nothing like summer. I don't know, for me, I just love summer. It's one of my favorite seasons. So I do see my Heliopsis is absolutely crying out for water, so I am going to water that, and I'm going to finish my coffee. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye bye.